get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. The target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage. Over.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo. Behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. So glad that you're joining us, whether you're listening at www.behindendemylinesradio.us or if you're checking us out on the radio dial, whether it be AM, FM, or internet, whichever your preference may be, or if we're traveling along with you as a podcast. We're glad to be along for the ride. In the co-pilot seat, Russ Gallo is back. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, man?
Listen, when you say what's going on, I'm going to say what's not going on. Because clearly, there is too much news to talk about this week. You know what? I don't even know where to begin. I'm just going to wing it. I got the bottle of Jack out. I got a couple of shot glasses out because it's going to be a 2-shot night, pal.
Gene Carlos Danger Baradelli, you maniac, you.
Oh, and you know what? That just adds more to the news week. Listen, we can talk about the whole rigging of the DNC primary. We can talk about Donna Brazile's book. We can talk about the horrible shooting in Texas. We can talk about Rand Paul getting, attacked in his own house. But you start the show off with Anthony Weiner going to jail. He's hitting the pokey this week, Russ.
Democrats gone wild. I love it.
And there's the name of the show. Thank you very much. We got a lot to talk about today, but, okay, Carlos Danger going to jail, kicking the bucket, whatever you want to call it, fine. Good enough for me. I think that closes that book, at least for a couple of years.
Do you think so? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that this guy finds a way back onto the headlines. His story's not over.
Russ, there's no internet in prison. How can that story not be over?
Listen, I don't know.
Someone's going to sneak in a burner phone, and we're going to be talking about Weiner's Weiner for much longer.
I bet you his name pops back up because it looks like Hillary might get caught with her pants down too. God forbid.
Why you gotta say pops up when it comes to Weiner? Oh,
God forbid. But I think he's popping up with collusion and now rigging a Democratic primary. Who knows what was on Anthony Weiner's computer that caused the FBI director to rethink his whole scheme a couple months back.
It's gone full circle, hasn't it, pal? Let's catch
it's
everybody
insane.
up. Let's catch everybody up right now. The big news that broke last week is spilling into this week as well. Donna Brazile, former interim chair of the DNC, board of directors member of the DNC prior to that, ran Al Gore's campaign prior to that. We're talking about a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat.
And don't forget, Gene, in the interim, a CNN contributor who leaked questions to the Hillary campaign. For the debates.
And a 2016 Buffoon of the Year finalist, who lost to Anthony Weiner, by the way. See what I did there?
I like it.
She wrote a book, and basically it's called Hacks. And oh boy, are we talking about hacks in this book. She wrote, part of the book was, an excerpt of it was in Politico last week, talking about there's so many tasty morsels in this book. Whether it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz is just a bad manager, or Barack Obama bankrupt the Democratic Party, or that Hillary Clinton did a backdoor deal in order to take control of the RNC, take control of this fundraising arm, take control of his communications arm, and reap the benefits for herself. And oh, by the way, there was a primary going on at the same time against an actual opponent. What?
Now, before you get any deeper, Gene, isn't it painful that Donald Trump, President Trump, has been right about damn near everything he said so far?
Oh, absolutely.
It's painful. The man, love him or hate him, the guy is right way more often than he's wrong. He called the rigged primaries, and I believe that the Republican Party primaries were were borderline being rigged as well. But the Democrat ones were just completely rigged, and now everyone's admitting it. It's just astonishing.
I remember the discussions we were having about superdelegates and how that rigged the system because they were basically Hillary loyalists that were being picked. Now we know why, Russ. Because she was running everything. The story is that there was a joint fundraising agreement with the DNC and the Hillary campaign in order to basically put the DNC on sort of an allowance. Hillary would pick up the tab for their debt. In exchange, she got the final say on communications people, on fundraising people, probably on strategy, on the firstborn of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, if you might as well throw that in there as well. But man, oh man, these joint fundraising agreements, Russ, I mean, we've seen them before, but they're usually after a primary decides who's going to be the nominee. It's not beforehand like this.
And what I don't understand is, I mean, the more you look into this thing, the more it looks like there were some crimes committed. And normally you say, well, you know, it's a political party. The courts don't like to get involved in these things. But they clearly were, I guess a nice way to say it is circumventing federal election law and campaign finance laws when this agreement that they made essentially allowed Hillary to control the fundraising of the DNC and reap the benefits of much higher thresholds than would be allowed if the people donate directly to the campaign. And what I mean is she would do joint fundraising efforts with the DNC or state parties. The state parties, the state Democratic parties, would take their share through this agreement and then donate the money right back into one of Hillary Clinton's PACs, which were used to elect Hillary Clinton. So this agreement wound up getting, you know, netting her all of the money, damn near, at the expense of those state and local parties.
You know, it's as close to money laundering as you can really get in politics when you think about it. What happens, folks, is every candidate has a limit that you can contribute. I think it's $2,700 or something like that. But if you contribute to a state committee, I think the limit for a federal is something like $3,300. Now multiply that by 50, and you get people like, I don't know, Harvey Weinstein, giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to this joint fundraising effort, and it's supposed to get split up amongst the states, but what the states do, like Russ said, is they just pulled it back together under the Hillary umbrella. But all this was going on during a primary, Russ. That's what's crazy about it, is that you had, I mean, forget about Bernie Sanders, but you also had Lincoln Chafee, and you also had the other senator, I forget his name, that was running. But there was another Democrat senator, another old white guy, whatever. Point being,
there was a guy named Webb in there or something too.
Yeah, Jim Webb. Thank you very much. Good memory, Russ. But remember when we would just talk about different things in the campaigns. One of the things we talked about is why wasn't Joe Biden deciding to run? Well, I guess now we know why, don't it, Russ? Why would anyone?
Well, old Uncle Joe knew.
Why would anyone of any credibility within the DNC want to run, knowing that this joint fundraising agreement was there? And it just goes to show you how uninitiated Bernie Sanders was to party politics. He may be a socialist, but he's not a partisan socialist, apparently. He didn't think to check to see what the deal was with the DNC.
Well, I'm Gene, I'm a little upset that Donna Brazile just now is coming out because her book happens to be out there. Why didn't she come out during the campaign and start saying how corrupt the party was and how Hillary was basically breaking the law and twisting arms? Why didn't she say it then?
You know,
there's
something in the law called the doctrine of unclean hands, and if this doesn't typify what Donna Brazile did, nothing does. Unclean hands means that, yeah, somebody else did something wrong, but I did something wrong too, and that means my credibility is shot. Donna Brazile's selling a book. And like every book that you write that has your first-person narrative in it, you're always the hero of your own story. And Donna Brazile's no different. She made herself the centerpiece. She was shocked at what she found. She cried. She had to put on gospel music before she called Bernie Sanders to tell him, I kept my promise, Bernie. But
she said she felt like slave. She pulling out all the stuff. I love it, Gene, and I say this every time this happens. I love it when the Democrats fall victim to race and identity politics from their own. I love it. Now she felt like a slave on the plantation over this whole thing. Though I had a good gut laugh earlier when I heard that she said that.
It's crazy, isn't it? How things just they're eating their own now. But Donna Brazile just didn't just pass on these questions. Oh no, that would be bad enough. What she also did was she was an absentee board member for the DNC. She's been on the board for years. So when Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, hiring Clinton people, and when Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, increasing the burn rate of the DNC to the tune of $5 million a month, and watching it all burn down, and letting President Obama get $24 million in debt, do you think she's consulting with the board? Or do you think the board is stepping in to say, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, what's going on here? No, none of that's happening. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is basically letting them know after things happen. Oh, by the way, I signed this agreement. What? You didn't run it by your board? I mean, Russ, we haven't sat on boards to the level of the DNC, but we have operated within party infrastructure in the past. And we know that giving unfettered authority to one person, Marty Golden, doesn't really work out so well. You have to have a check and a balance, and that board of directors, Donna Brazile, should have been that check to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Hillary campaign. So she herself is a failure in this whole situation.
And in the ultimate irony, first of all, I drew the short straw, and I had to watch CNN earlier.
Good. I won again.
What I see there is that CNN is now throwing Brazile overboard, which is so laughable to begin with. Because when she was giving away the questions to in the debates, and when she was head of the DNC, not a bad word could be spoken about the woman. Now all of a sudden she turned on Hillary, and CNN is circling the wagons, saying that Brazile, is basically making up the whole thing, and she should have said something back then if all this were true. It's just laughable, Gene, when it comes down to it.
Because when you think of hard-hitting neutral reporting, you think CNN. I mean, come on. Donna Brazile, first of all, she claimed that she wouldn't take the job as interim head of the DNC if she would have known what was going on. Yeah, right. I don't believe that for a second. Nobody should believe that for a second. She was a Hillary loyalist the whole time through, giving her debate questions. Now, there's something we can talk about with the debate question in a second, but put a pin in that for a second. Fast forward to after the WikiLeaks emails came out in 2016, and we talked about this. Donna Brazile swore up and down to Megyn Kelly and Fox News and everybody she can talk to how she wasn't a part of anything with passing along these debate questions. Then fast forward to March of this year, and Donna Brazile admits to it. Now fast forward again, and there's a whole book about it that she's now going to profit off of. I mean, if that isn't first-class hackery, I don't know what is.
I mean, lack of integrity much? I can't believe it.
It's the ultimate. But you know what? It's not really the ultimate because, I mean, we've seen it all from the Democrats. And I'm sorry for laughing so much, but it really does make you chuckle. Remember, when you compare it to the Republican primary system, it's like golden compared to what happened with the DNC. There were like 57,028 candidates. But at least they all got their own fair shake. And at least they all got to say their bit. And at least they rose and fell on their own merits. The only time you saw talking about delegates, Russ, was when it was down to two people, really.
And we were talking before the show, folks, and we were, debating on what we were going to talk about tonight. And we are going to touch a little bit about, we're going to debate, we're going to talk a little bit about something that's going on in New York a little later on. There's a proposal to amend the New York State Constitution, actually a constitutional convention here. But one of the arguments that I've been having with the people that I've been speaking about on that topic, even though, but it really is relevant in this discussion, is if we were to have a constitutional convention in the state of New York, we would be basically trusting the same people who are running this state into the ground right now to amend that constitution or to, convene to change the whole constitution. And why I think it's relevant to this is I don't even know where to begin, Gene. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party is a mess, but the Democratic Party, God help them. I mean, there's nothing good about them left. I mean, look who their top people are. Donna Brazile, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Anthony Weiner was. I mean, the party is a disaster. Bill de Blasio. I mean, these guys are utter disasters, not a shred of integrity among the lot of them. And this is a
waiting in the
major
wings.